know I said I was going to wait, but I ended up doing it. What's up everyone, Tech Mindset here. In today's video, I'm doing a full upgrade on my system, but first I need to take out the old parts that I'm going to reuse in the new system. I'll be keeping my SSDs, my hard drives, and my CPU cooler. The first step in disassembling my old computer is removing the GPU. Once I get all the screws out, I have to push down on a little clip on the motherboard to release it. Next up is the Thunderbolt card. This thing was pretty cool. At the time I was building this system originally, I wasn't expecting getting Thunderbolt 3 on an AMD system, so I was really happy when I was able to do that. Next up, the CPU cooler. Next, I'm going to remove these plates and get at the NVMe drives. And then finally, in the inner chamber here, I have two SSDs. Everything else is accessed on the backside. Yeah, it's been a while since I dusted this thing. Look at all that dust. Ugh, it's disgusting. Two more SSDs in the back, and then I can remove the screws holding in the two hard drives here. Look at this beautiful wiring. You can't wire like this. Once I get everything out of the way, all I can do is just pinch and slide. All I have to do is pinch and then slide out the last two hard drives. Finally, I'm going to reuse all these SATA cables, so I need to pull those out. Next is the fun part of taking out all the screws on every single drive in order to prep it for the new case. I'll just speed it up here for you. Ah, that's better. This motherboard has a lot of features, but it does have a couple of quirks that's been pretty annoying since I've been using it. I've been having issues with the audio system, as well as issues when there's power fluctuations. I've tried to mitigate by getting a new Thunderbolt dock for audio, and then a UPS to deal with any slight power fluctuations. The power supply is pretty cool too. All the ports are on the side instead of being on the back. One of the reasons that I chose this motherboard is that it has built-in Thunderbolt, so I can connect it directly to my dock now without having to do an add-in card. Being that this is a 7950 X3D, the first thing I wanted to do is to do a BIOS update before I actually installed everything else. I was happy to find out that I was able to do a BIOS flash before I installed all the other components. With that done, I'm going to go ahead and put in the CPU. And in order to prep it, I need to put on the pieces for the CPU cooler. And if you know this CPU cooler, you'll know that those silver brackets I put on were actually on the wrong way. Whoops. I end up fixing it later. The thing that I really liked about installing the CPU is that it doesn't have the pins on the CPU anymore. It was a lot more nerve-wracking to install the last two processors. Next up, I'm removing all these plates in order to install the NVMe drives. I wanted to make this my most powerful build ever, so with that in mind, I ended up getting a Gen 5 NVMe. And in order to cool that, I'm going to use the included beefier heatsink for it, that even has its own little fan on it. I made the mistake originally by tying it in with the other fans on the case, and this thing is really loud. So what I ended up doing is putting it into a different fan header and then making that fan header a different setting than the other ones. I rarely ever hear it hit max speed. The other thing that I like about this motherboard is it has the space for all the drives that I wanted to put into it. I currently ended up having 11 storage devices plugged into this. Next up is the RAM. Instead of doing 4 8GB sticks, I ended up doing 2 32GB. I really wanted 64. Another mistake I made on this build is that I accidentally bought a 120mm fan. This is me figuring that out right now. For the sake of getting everything set, I ended up putting it in, but I did later swap it out for an extra 140mm fan that I had. Sometime later, I did pick up a matching Fractal case fan, so all the fans are the same now. And right here is where I figure out I installed those brackets wrong.
NANI?
Fixed. I must have been getting tired or something. Here I am installing the fan upside down. Maybe at some point I'll get the black version of the Noctua cooler, but for right now, this works just fine. And I didn't have to spend extra money on it. The last bit of this video is starting to wire up the power supply, and that's where I stopped filming, unfortunately. However, I will say that the wiring, especially in the inner chamber, is so much better than my last case. It helps, especially because all the SSDs and drives fit on the backside. If I can find it, I really wanted to show a quick file transfer to the NVMe drive.
Oh my God.
I'll also see if I can show a quick phone video of the inside of the case as well. Looks really nice inside. If you like what you saw, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment for future video ideas. That's all for this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.